Good morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast, a Thursday edition where we talk about governance and policy, including politics, with me, Patrick Soko, and my co-host, Shalon Kalimbula. Morning, madam.
Good morning, Patrick. Good morning to you, our viewers. Welcome to Eat and Eat. This is the Thursday edition of the Breakfast Show. As usual, we have quite a number of issues lined up for you to get entertained, informed, as well as educated. And globally, really, Patrick, you are aware that it's been a very, very dark cloud for the media industry. One of the journalists from Al Jazeera was killed, was shot dead by the fighters in Israel. She was covering a story, a renowned journalist, and we had that story in our news, and globally everybody's talking about it because it could be you and I in the course of our duty trying to bring that information for people to make decisions, to know and understand what is happening in various localities, and then fate meets you, you get entangled into such a situation. A very, very sad situation there, a very dark cloud for the media industry, especially that we're just commemorating World Press Freedom Day, Patrick. And one of the saddest thing actually also is that she was wearing a press jacket. Yeah. So you're not entirely protected in as much as you are wearing a press jacket. Anything can happen to you. No,
those are some of the risks our colleagues take, but usually there's been a rare circumstance.
Yes.
And that's one of the rare circumstances.
One of the rare circumstances.
If you saw the people around when she was picked up, most of them were journalists wearing the same vests.
Exactly.
So sometimes in the course of duty, those unfortunate situations do happen, and we are sad that it was one of our colleagues who actually met her fate, and she was a seasoned journalist.
Inspired so many people.
Did a lot of work. You know, we get most of our stories from Al Jazeera or BBC, but so these are journalists who have been covering most of the stories that we also extend here in Africa, Zambia in particular, Camnet TV here. So it's a concern for everyone. Yes. It's a concern for the media industry as we continue to mourn our colleague.
Indeed, Patrick, for now, though, we got straight into the morning boost and flex our muscles as the gig started with this breakfast show. Good morning.
Good morning, Camnet viewers. Welcome to our quick morning show. And I am your presenter, Isaac Matsa. I'm here so that we can do a bit of exercise before you jump on that vehicle and go and do your work. Let's do a warm-up as usual. I'm excited. It's a beautiful morning, a brand new day. You better be positive and do what you know. Let's go. Hamstring, stay at it. Let's do now two each now, two each. Let's go. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Stay there. 2, 1. Try it. Tell your hubby to join you. Let's do it together. 2 each. 2 each. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 4, 3, 2. Back to step touch. Let's go. 4, 3, 2. Hamstrings. 4, 3, 2. Back to step touch. And 4, 3, 2. Hamstrings. Matching. Let's match. Lift your knees high. Hip, 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 hip. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's do a warm-up. Okay. So that was your warm-up today. And we're going to do something else now. The first thing we're going to do, I'm giving you some squats. Okay, here we go now. Put your feet together. Watch my body posture. Let's go now. 20 at a go. If you can't do 20, please do 10. Okay, let's go. Let's go, mommy, daddy, involve your children. 1, 2, 4, go down. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20. I'm gonna face this direction. Go! Move. Okay, 20. Still with squats. Take a break. Relax your legs. Good morning workout, isn't it? Let's go, another 10 now. Watch the space. This is what I do now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try it. 5, 6, good for your body. 7, 8, 9, 10. So that was 10. That's the second one. In case you had too much of Mishima last night, let's burn all that fat now. Another 10. Ready? Feet together. Open your stance. Go down. Touch the ground. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Push. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 20. Trust me, if you're doing it exactly like me, right now you can feel pressure on your thighs. 20 more. Remember, the first one we did was 40. This one should be 40 as well. After that, take a shower, jump on that vehicle, your bike, your car, and go for work. Let's go. 20 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo! I'm burning fat here. Do it. You thank Camnet later. Last one. Let's go, Team Camnet. Let's show them we can do this. Last 10. After this, you can have your coffee and go for work. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll do 2 for you, 1 for you, 2 for your wife, 3 for your children, for my producer, 1. Great. That was 40. So you did 2 types of squats. Remember? There's the skill squat and the sumo squat. Now, forget about the names. What's important is for you to do the workout. Right now, I can't even talk properly because I'm working out. I'm burning fats, I'm burning calories, and that's what you ought to do. Every morning, try this. If you miss it in the morning, try to do it in the evening. Remember where I started from? Let's smash. And back. We are winding down now. Thank you so much for tuning in to our breakfast show. Please make sure you need to exercise always because you only have one body to carry out your assignment. And I am signing out. I'm Isaac Matsa, and see you.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast, and that was Isaac Machisa helping us with the morning boost, especially this time of this month, because this month of May towards June, Sharon, it gets too cold, and doing exercise is more relevant than never because you get to push off some certain diseases or the coldness that may try to lower your steam. And it's important that you do a morning workout. And just as we were coming, me and Elijah, we found a very big man trying to lose some. And that's what you can do best, especially during this period. From May to July, you can lose some kilos by doing that workout. And as we do just a 5-minute workout with Isaac Machisa, and it's working. And we hope it also works for you. You can invite your family members whenever we are on the breakfast and do that drill on a daily basis.
Indeed, Patrick, I can only imagine what came through your mind when you saw that big man running, jogging. Over na Elijah Mwatseka. You too, I don't trust you. But anyways, for now, though, we go straight into the health corner and look at what the doctors have for us. Thereafter, we will talk about it. And you can still follow this conversation by sending us those text messages as well as call us in and tell us whatever is happening in your various localities. Also, on this segment, which is the health corner, you can also send in those problems or issues, medical issues that you want the doctors to tackle for you, that you don't understand. They've brought us quite a number of issues, Patrick. And one of the things that I always is really stuck on my mind is the issue of epilepsy and also the issue of meningitis, the lumbar puncture issue. There's so much noise out there with the wrong perception, and at least it was cleared by the doctors. In case you missed that episode, you can just go back to our breakfast shows and you'll be able to find those episodes and update yourself insofar as those issues are related. Like I mentioned, this is your show, and you can also suggest some of those medical conditions that you want the doctors to talk about. Let's look at this clip from the doctors and let's see what they've brought for us this morning.
Good morning, viewers. I am Dr. Nancy Mbasela from the Medical Women Association of Zambia. This week on Health Talk, we have been discussing lupus. We have said that lupus affects more females than males. 90% of cases of lupus occur in females. Usually these females are of childbearing age. We also said that lupus is a chronic illness, that is, it does not go away completely. It can be managed and symptoms can go away, but with triggers it can flare up again. So some of the triggers that we discussed of lupus flare-ups are smoking, we've discussed stress, and exposure, chronic exposure, prolonged exposure to UV light. So today we are going to discuss neonatal lupus. So neonatal lupus affects newborns. Usually they present after 2 weeks of life. So what causes neonatal lupus? So neonatal lupus occurs when a mother, a pregnant woman, transmits autoantibodies. That is the antibodies that we've been talking about, the part of the immune system that attacks both foreign entities and also attacks that person's body. So the mother transmits these autoantibodies to the fetus, and when the child is born, usually within a few weeks, they present with lupus. Neonatal lupus is very rare. Even when a mother transmits autoantibodies, rarely will these neonates come with symptoms. So what are the symptoms of neonatal lupus? So neonatal lupus usually presents with a rash. Rarely does it present with other things. So it will present with a rash, but rarely these babies can develop heart problems. Heart problems are the most dangerous complications of neonatal lupus. So what do we do about this rash that the baby presents with? Usually we don't do anything. The rash will go away within a month or two, but if the baby has heart problems that have come with that lupus, usually we monitor this baby, and whenever we feel it's necessary or at the request of the parent, we treat symptoms. So if the heart problem that the patient has come with is causing heart failure, of course we'll treat that heart problem. But usually we expect it to go away And sometimes it can be so dangerous that this baby develops what we call conduction problems and may need a pacemaker. So what can we do to prevent neonatal lupus? Unfortunately, there is very little that can be done to prevent neonatal lupus, especially if you as a pregnant woman does not know that you have lupus, or if you have other autoimmune diseases. So how can you help us as someone with lupus? So if you have lupus and plan to get pregnant and have children, it's very important that you discuss with your doctor about your plans so that your pregnancy can be well planned. Another thing that you can do is that if you have a flare-up is when you are showing symptoms. So you have this rash, you have a fever, you have joint pains, or you have heart problems from lupus, brain problems, kidney problems, or even blood problems. Once your lupus is treated, we advise that you wait 6 months before you can get pregnant. This way you are protected and your baby is protected. Like I said in our first session, one of the complications of lupus in pregnancy is spontaneous abortion. So if you have active lupus, by active lupus I mean if you have symptoms of lupus at that particular time and you get pregnant, you have a high chance of having a spontaneous abortion or a miscarriage. And then how can you protect your child who has lupus, this newborn who has lupus? So when they have that rash, as we are waiting for it to go away, as a parent, try to avoid taking your child in the sun for too long. If possible, get your baby a baby sunscreen so that they are protected whenever they go outside. And also be reassured that usually by 1 month, 2 months, it will go away. But if your child presents with the heart problems, there is treatment for the symptoms. It can be managed the same way that we manage the heart problems in adults with systemic lupus erythematosus. Thank you for joining me today. We've been discussing neonatal lupus. This week we are talking about lupus because lupus is very common in Africans and it's also very deadly because of late diagnosis. And this week we want to make sure that people know what lupus is, and if they show signs and symptoms of lupus, they quickly go to the hospital, get diagnosed and start treatment. Thank you very much for joining us.
Welcome back. Indeed, that was the doctor. They are giving us an update or informing us or educating us about lupus. This week, she is talking about this condition or disease, and it actually affects everyone, even males or females, but mostly in females, about 90%, at least yesterday. That's what she mentioned in one of the episodes. And today she was talking about neonatal lupus. And with neonatal, obviously the word, Patrick, you kind of sound as you are a father. Just listening to neonatal and then you're very quiet. You want to have another child?
It is you supposed to have another child. I have another
but anyway,
child.
so yeah, neonatal.
And I'm talking about
neonatal lupus.
Another Chimwemwe. Don't disturb me, please. Don't disturb me.
Story for another day,
Don't
Patrick.
disturb me.
She has mentioned to say in an event that you want to have a child and you have active lupus, you need to ensure that you talk to your
you have
medical.
Yeah, there you have it. Well, it just gets to tell you how passionate you are about children, because
and about
when she was just talking about
women, basically.
Yes, talking about neonatal lupus. It's quite a delicate disease, Sharon, which
it is.
Actually affects many body parts, such as lungs, your heart, your skin. So it's quite an interesting subject. And surprisingly enough, I've been reporting on health for some time now, but I've never reported anything
You've never
about
come across
lupus.
lupus.
And
That's a challenge given to you.
and something I need to do an article on to just explore to the extent at which lupus is in the country, because it's quite a common disease, as the doctor indicated, and it also affects children. And this piece she gave us was also elaborate in terms that it also helps us to understand some of the preventive measures, and that it does, it is manageable, and if you follow the right steps. And we need to just get abreast of information. Just like I told you, Sharon, this segment you can never go wrong, because you get informed, and I'm getting informed by the day. Exactly.
Isaac, help us with the money markets. We see how the kwacha is faring against the major convertibles. The United States dollars is buying at 19 kwacha 91 ngwe and selling at 17 kwacha 24 ngwe. The Great British Pound is at 20 kwacha 91 ngwe and selling at 21 kwacha 33 ngwe. The euro is at 18 kwacha 89 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 26 ngwe, while the South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 05 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 07 ngwe. Those are your money markets in case you have those dollars, pounds, and euros. That's how you're going to be exchanging those notes, you know. But otherwise, the exchange rates vary from one financial institution to another. But we will not mention where we pick those from, because we'll be advertising them. However, this segment is available for advertisements.
Interesting. It is indeed available for advertisements. You can sell your business using this segment. Very important, because people are always glued to just make sure that they get to understand how the currency is performing. Just now get to understand how in the world of sport, what was trending, because we had some games yesterday in the EPL league, and let's see how it turned out. We had Leicester City, who were playing Norwich City, and Leicester was a better side, managing to beat Norwich by 3-0. And we also had Watford up against Everton. This match ended in a balanced draw. And we also had on Monday, this was on Monday, where Leeds were playing Chelsea, and this encounter ended 3 in favor of Chelsea. Leeds United could not score any goal, and Manchester City managed to thrash Wolves by 5-0. That's thereby increasing their goal aggregate against their closest rival in the EPL contention for the championship, Liverpool, who they now have a super lead in terms of goal difference of about 7 goals. And also today we in the EPL we have Tottenham will be playing against Arsenal. This will be quite an interesting encounter, because Arsenal is also fighting to be in the top 4, and they want to play in the Champions League. So we're going to just see which one will be the better side, Tottenham or Arsenal, to play in the Champions League. In the Spanish league, La Liga, we also had games as of yesterday. We saw Celta Vigo playing against Barcelona, and Barcelona was a better side with 3-1. And we had Osasuna up against Getafe, and this one ended in a 1-1 draw. We also had Alaves up against Espanyol, and this match ended 2-1 in favor of Alaves. And Elche were up against Atletico Madrid. Atletico edging closer to playing the Champions League. Probably now they have sealed that, because they managed to win by 2-0. Then we also had Sevilla, who were playing Mallorca, and now Mallorca managed to hold on to Sevilla, because Sevilla has been a better side in the league. And Real Sociedad versus Cadiz, this is today, and we are going to see how that will pan out. We also have Real Madrid versus Levante, who will be playing today. Rayo Vallecano will be up against Villarreal. Those are the games that will be taking place in the La Liga. Thank you for that update, Isaac.
Quite a number of teams there with very weird pronunciations. Espanol. You know, I was like, what? Was I going to manage to mention this name?
But I was going through your mind when you said that.
Espanol.
Okay.
Really?
It's okay.
You are watching the Camnet Breakfast with me, Sharon Kalimbola. On the other chair is Patrick Soko. And now we just zoom into some of the stories that made headlines yesterday. Patrick, what are those stories?
Well, today, some of the stories that we're zooming in our list there contains the stories from the Public Accounts Committee on the DMMU and the Minister of Youth. We also have a story on the Evelyn Horn College, who have been boosted with some financial support from the Minister of Technology and Science, Sharon. We also have Emmanuel Mwamba, who was appearing before
the PPSE.
Yes, the Public Procurement Authority. And we also have a story in Mtendere regarding issues pertaining to land.
Indeed, Patrick, the story for Chandakawe, actually, the Public Accounts Committee is very interesting. They've been sitting this week, and yesterday they summoned him. Finally, he managed to appear before them, because previously when he was summoned, he brought in these reasons why he could not appear. You know, he was unwell, he was this. And the former minister also of youth and sports was also summoned yesterday. It was quite a hive of activity at Parliament, and a lot of issues that came out. And you know, Chandakawe being who he is, I think he was very prepared, over-prepared actually. Maybe that's why, for me, I think it's one of the reasons why he failed to appear previously, because he was ill-prepared. This time around, it's like the situation was.
And how they ask the questions and everything. Yes. So he was trying to get ahead of them.
He was trying to get ahead of them, but he found them also they were equal to the task. You know, he actually challenged them to say, no, you know, with his voice, I'm very ready to go to the police.
Let's listen to that story. Appearing before the Public Accounts Committee is perceived as a hostile environment to witness, especially when the committee members identify audit queries. On the subject of the Auditor General's report looking on the COVID-19 pandemic, the witness was the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU. Matters being queried include, among others, over procurement of face masks and selection of contractors to supply COVID-19 materials. And this time around, DMMU's former national coordinator, Chandakawe, was able to attend after previously failing to do so on account of being sick. Just like a porcupine, he came prepared and pushed off the weight of the parliamentary committee by making it clear that he was not in court to be cross-examined and he wanted to be treated with dignity.
Appreciated. Honorable Rumai said something else. Chair, that is not appreciated. I don't think so. You called me to be abused. No, that is not appreciated. And I'm sure if you want information, Chair, I would choose, I'm appearing before the investigating witness, I would choose to go and speak to investigation committee and not your committee. I came out of respect, not to be abused. And if my submissions are not, people should use correct words to me, because I can react. That, Chair, I can promise you.
And Mr. Kawe has asked the Public Accounts Committee, PAC, to recommend his arrest if it feels he abused his office in the procurement of reusable face masks for 58 districts that were at risk of contracting the COVID-19 pandemic.
Can't be cast in concrete, because the first plan was 4.2, and then it's cast in concrete that we can't revise the plan. No, we used to revise the plan. And that's why I said, Chairperson, if this committee thinks that we abused the authority to go and do, I've said I'm ready to pay the price. The committee can recommend that I'm arrested or prosecuted if they feel that I abused the authority in order for us to buy the masks. It's full stop. The plans are there, and from 2020 to 2021, at the time I was leaving the office, we are revising plans every single day, because the cases were increasing and the cases were reducing. It was my role as national coordinator who was given an opportunity to save lives, to ensure that no one dies. Even when people died.
And nominated Member of Parliament, Likando Mufalari, insisted that the committee is not involved in the affairs of taking people to court or to the police.
We are asking you to understand the decisions that you made when you were national coordinator. And if those decisions were able to adhere to some of the principles that were set before you, that's what we're asking for. So for him to come here and start telling us that we are putting him in a court. I think he has appeared before this committee before. He has appeared before other committees where you ask questions, and we're asking these questions to understand the decisions that you made. And we are not even interested in you to say maybe we want to take, we are not taking people to police. The Public Accounts Zambia does not take people to police. We are literally asking him to give us the criteria he was using, or the criteria DMMU, which he was the head. Why did they arrive at that position? Why did they not advertise? Why did they overprocure? Those are the questions and those are the systems that are in place in this country.
Meanwhile, Imanga Wamunyima, the member of parliament for Nalolo constituency, felt the witness could not provide concrete responses.
We're having too much emotion and long answers. If they are not willing to answer, Chair, then we might as well close the meeting. Because this emotion of saying, no, I'm not in this, that, we must take deep recognition that what we are subjecting here is public accountability, which is the key role of parliament. So if you don't have an answer, you say you don't have an answer. Rather than taking around and in some way, I feel demeaned. You cannot come before this committee and say, I'm not being cross-examined. No, that question. These questions are informed based on the Auditor General's report.
The DMMU is among the major highlights of the Auditor General's report on account of misappropriation and application or abuse of resources, and we can only wait for the recommendation of the Public Accounts Committee. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka. Wednesday, 11th May 2022, the Public Accounts Committee was in session, and the witness was the former Youth and Sports Minister Emmanuel Mulenga, who in the previous sitting was accused of being behind most of the irregularities as contained in the Auditor General's report.
This guy was highly connected to the former government. I don't know what position he had, but that's all I know, because he used to come with a lot of authority to my office. So he's the one that brought in most of these cooperatives. Fast forward to today, Mr. Mulenga refuted assertions of being involved in the procurement of 50 fuel tankers for the Youth Empowerment Program. Mr. Mulenga also denied allegations that he was instructed by the former President Edgar Lungu to increase the number of fuel tankers for the Youth Empowerment Program from 35 to 50.
The procurement tender for fuel tankers, 30 of that in terms of quantity. Our former minister can claim that he wasn't aware about the procurement process, because I understand that the main purpose of having management meeting having meetings between yourself and top management, one of the reasons was to keep you abreast of what is happening in your own ministry.
You submitted Appendix 4, which has 42 people, and out of these 42 people, you have picked 3 names as those who were fired. Where did the other remaining 38 go? If there's 3, you are casting aspersions that they were fired because they benefited from these monies that you have provided on Appendix.
Bodak, what I don't know, not that I don't know everything, what I don't know is the procurement process. Because as a minister, I pray that one day you're appointed. As a minister, you take oath that you shall defend the Constitution and the laws of the land. When you're taking up that office, I took oath. If the laws and the Constitution does not allow me to be part of procurement, why should I force myself to be part of that procurement team?
The former minister claimed that, contrary to the assertions, Ms. Nkumbula was removed from her position because, among other reasons, she inflated prices of equipment that the minister was procuring under the Youth Empowerment Program, and misuse of money for development of the communication strategy amounting to 7 million kwacha, and financial misconduct where she paid herself and the driver. The Public Accounts Committee members felt the submissions by the minister contradicted the previous submissions, thus wondering if there were parallel reports at the ministry.
Also, the money made for development of robust and comprehensive communication strategy, they transferred 400 and 84,000. And if you go to appendix number 4, appendix number 4 on the second page, appendix number 4, chairperson, second page, it's an internal memo written by the Director of Finance to myself then when I was Minister of Youth, Sport and Child Development, indicating the people who drew money from the ministry without undertaking. If you go to the third page of appendix number 4, the first one who got 64,700 without traveling was the former PS. The sixth one who got this money, this is Mrs. Nkumbula's cleaner.
And the committee chairperson, Warren Mwambazi, said the committee did not understand Mr. Mulenga's submissions as they did not tally with the previous report.
I take position. We've heard the submission of the minister, former minister. We'll proceed and make our recommendations because he's not aware. Even if Honorable Mfarari, I give you the PAVE Zambia, which is reported in the ministerial statement that youths benefited. The funds had already been.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka. Welcome back. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast with me, Patrick Soko, and Sharon Kalimbula, and we were zooming in our first two stories on Park. Sharon, your perspective on those two stories?
Came prepared like a porcupine.
Yeah, indeed.
I think indeed you are the press poet.
Don't touch me.
Indeed you are the press poet. I've seen the poetry in you was manifested in that story. But yeah, like we mentioned before we played those two stories, Patrick, those are some of the issues that really came out, and the minister, former minister, is actually bringing in new things, Patrick, away
and
from
making us to know more things, more than necessary.
More things that were happening in the ministry. So, you know, and the other lady, other lady is the one who was very outspoken that time. They had voting in Chilekwa.
She was the one. She was sorting out and everything,
putting things in place. Now she's going to be sorted as well, because apparently it's like the minister said, the former minister said she was fired because she got money without using it for the intended purpose. Misapplication of resources. Yes, money meant for a workshop. She went to buy a limo. I'm just kidding.
So all those things are, and this is actually Park did acknowledge that there was also a need that the minister should have appeared during that time when even Mrs. Nkumbula was appearing.
You actually even know the name.
It was going to be
Mrs.
easier.
Nkumbula made a lot of noise.
It was going to be easier for them to actually cross-check, because the minister has the different minutes, and those people also presented different minutes, and the way the committee was asking who was taking the minutes, and the minister was saying that the human resource department.
It's like, you know, they want to pin each other down because maybe they have something against them. So the best, like you are mentioning, is that they were supposed to appear at the same time.
Yes, so that
no one accuses the other of doing the other things. Because it's like someone is trying to defend themselves.
Yes, like because you said that, I'm also going to bring out this on you. Because you said this. So all those things.
There's just been a lot of things happening under the previous administration relating to misappropriation of funds, misapplication. Basically, it's just been too much. It's just been too much. Also, the issues of the masks. I think it is something that we talked about the other time that Chandaka was supposed to appear. They were talking about how could you procure these masks which were supposed to be at this much, you know. It was inflated figures also. Has been a huge source of concern when it comes to government procurement processes, because don't say a ream of paper which you can buy at 130. Government should be 210.
At the moment, we're even buying a face mask at 2 kwacha.
At 2 kwacha.
In the CBD.
In the CBD.
But now, then normally we're buying it at 5 kwacha. But the government mask was costing 10 kwacha.
How?
How?
Is the bigger question.
So those are things, and those are concerns that are genuine when that people are asking.
It was coming already sanitized.
When you put it on, you can't get COVID at all. So I think those are probably that. But those were ordinary masks. They were masks actually those that were made of clothes. You get a sense. The reusable masks, most of them. We also had some surgical masks, but most of them were those who say. In fact, I remember we had some people who were being contracted. We did a lot of stories, Sharon, to say the government hasn't paid us masks. They told us to supply masks, but they haven't paid us. Despite us supplying, there were those protests we saw.
And you know, Patrick, you know, the delays in dispensing funds to people that supply you with various things, you know, as government, I think it just creates this vacuum of corruption in the process. Because somebody, you order something today, they deliver it, but it takes 3 months for you to pay them.
You see.
In 3 months, you'll say, Yanshi.
And
you know?
In the first place, why are you standing up to go and
procure something if the money is not ready, you know? So it just creates this vacuum of corruption, and the people have a lot of time to see the loopholes. People have a lot of time to change the invoices. People have a lot of time to inflate figures. Because, I mean, usually
Sharon,
this is what happens.
It reminds me of one clear case of what you have. You procure, then it's 4 months later, unpaid. So people you can even assume that they got the money, invested it in something, then when they make the profit, then they say we are going to pay you. You know, that kind of tendency also exists. And those are things that we need to avoid because they provide room for corruption, like you are saying, and we have to make sure that we minimize that. We saw Chandakawe there saying that his focus was to save lives, and that if they feel he did something wrong, is ready to pay for the things. That's what he's saying.
I don't know why I feel that my purpose was to save lives. It feels like a blackmail somehow, you know?
You have to systematically say things. Do you have to say...
It just feels like, you know, a sympathy thought, you know, a sympathy statement.
But you just told me that someone came prepared.
Yes, he was prepared.
It's part of preparation.
He was prepared, like so prepared, overly prepared. And everyone else now became hot-tempered.
Did you want people in rural areas to die? So if you people interrogating me, you wanted those people to die.
Then I'm ready.
I'm ready to be
arrested.
You know, those kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, but anyways, you too can have to say on these stories. And this is the Camnet Breakfast. You can call us from using the numbers that are scrolling on your screen, and you can send us those text messages on our social media platforms and comment on any of those stories. This now, Patrick Soko, brings me to the story of Emmanuel Mwamba, who is a presidential hope for the Patriotic Front and was ambassador for Ethiopia, among other countries. You know, he went to PPSD, and this is a body that is responsible for these procurement issues. Talking about procurement in relation to Chandakabo, you know, he, according to him, he says he went there actually in relation to the ZESCO thing. He doesn't want them to go ahead with that system that they want to use. But then it also comes back to the issue of when Chandakawe na inflated figures yao. Where was this PPSD?
Yeah, quite an interesting question, Sharon, you have. There are two systems, and that those are some of the loopholes. The public procurement law also provides for direct bidding, and also,
that's where a lot of nonsensical
so
things
direct
happen.
bidding, and those people would go for direct bidding. They do the bidding on their own. They say, "Oh no, Sharon, just come and supply. Won't call Elijah to come and supply alongside you because just we are going
enough."
Yes. So, and we saw the direct bidding clause being abused because when I was still working for a certain radio station, I was still bothered trying to contemplate Sharon to say. How do I write stories about direct bidding? I was being bothered a lot because I saw Chinese companies just getting contracts. So I was asking these people to say, no, anyway, the law provides for direct bidding, so they are direct bidding.
Exactly.
But my concern was, if we're going to be direct bidding everything, but how is there even going to be space for Zambians to participate? The answer is no, because Zambians usually have limited capacity. So these Chinese people come.
They have
We are
all
ready
the,
to construct a road.
They have all the machinery.
Can we go
they
ahead?
have all the resources.
You see, then they're just giving authority to start doing that, because then they already have the machinery, they have the money to start working with the road. Now, those are the challenges I had with direct bidding, Sharon. I still have the challenge, and you see the problem it comes with, because the bidding process is not competitive, and sometimes you end up getting deals that are not providing value for money. But I'm happy that the president has emphasized this time around that if you are working for the private sector, you are able to buy a ream of paper at 50 kwacha. Even if you are working for the government, it should not change to be costing at 80 kwacha. It should be 50 kwacha. It is the same money. It is the same. But
it's the same
what
product.
What makes it more expensive? You see, just like politicians, when they are trying to argue, they say there are no shops for rich and poor people. We all buy the same meal. So whether you are UPND, PF, so the shops we get into, we buy this with the same amount of money with the same quantity. So it is the same on this aspect. So these are issues I think as a country need to really take serious. But the president has actually emphasized on this to say he wants value for money, Sharon. If you are buying this cup for the breakfast that we are having, if you are buying it at 7 kwacha, 15 ngwe, then he will give you 88 kwacha. That 15 ngwe should come to the coffers, come back to the coffers. Don't think because it's like a small money, I'm going to pocket it. No, it's okay, change at whatever. So those are issues the president said they want to avoid in the public procurement processes. So, and if we succeed with that, then it means we have minimal leakages in terms of financial flows, because we are going to see how the Auditor General's report for the year 2022 is going to be. We just hope, in fact, even the one for 2021, because it will be in part, because it will also accommodate part of the PF, part of the UPND. The
UPND really had no control.
No control over most of the things.
They were just about 3 months.
Yeah, so for them, we will assess them on the 2022 one.
Yes.
But on the 2022 one, other experts have predicted, Sharon, that the most challenge we may be encountering is that we may have the reports, especially on the aspect of local government, because most resources have trickled down to councils. So most of the councils may be found wanting in terms of the Auditor General's report, especially in terms of reporting misapplication, misappropriation. We just hope they are doing the right thing as at now.
We hope so then. For now, though, let's take a short break. When we return, we continue the conversation. This is The Breakfast Show. Good morning.
Are you a married man or woman? Are you encountering challenges in your marriage? Are you planning to take your marriage and love relationship to higher levels? Your business platform is all set for you as a couple. You are invited to attend Zambia's First Love, Business and Marriage Conference. Amid its uncertainties in the economy, higher divorce rate in the world, plan to be one of the most successful couple in Zambia. Date 28th May 2022. Time from 9 hours to 16 hours. Participation fee 1,200 kwacha per couple. Lunch inclusive. For registration, payment can be done through MTN Mobile Money on 0962 965 883 or 0979 753 010 for Airtel Money. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International. Speakers, Professor and Mrs. Catherine Munkumba. And your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chilwa. This is a must-attend conference. Plan and make a date with us. Your lives, marriage, and future will never be the same. Remember, we are born for greatness. Book for your seats by calling 0962 965 883. See you on the 28th May 2022. Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast, and we were zooming in some stories that were trending in the main news. And just now we are going to discuss two stories. This is a story involving Evelyn Horn College, as well as the story involving Emmanuel Mwamba, so that we get the conversation going.
Let's look at the stories.
We just hope that on the other side we talk to Reverend Manduli so that he can give us his perspective.
Reverend Manduli, we are expecting you. Let's look at the stories. Thereafter we continue the conversation. You too can join in. Like I keep reminding you, this is your platform. Call us and send in those text messages. Let's get talking.
Met the committee that is investigating the importation of wooden poles by ZESCO. We submitted that ZESCO didn't follow the procedure, that ZESCO used obscure and non-transparent methods. We also delivered information to show that Zafico and other local suppliers can supply these wooden poles. We further referred to the ZPPA Act of 2020 that provides in section 89 H and article 39, section 39, which shows that all purchases above 1 million kwacha must be to citizen suppliers or local suppliers. So there was no justification by law for ZESCO to go international if the poles are available in the country and the law says any huge purchase above 1 million kwacha must be to citizen suppliers, in this case Zafico and other local suppliers. That's what the law says, and ZESCO, in our view, breached that law. So we've confidently given our submission to the committee, and we hope that in their investigations and in the various stakeholders they have to speak to, that will arrive at a fact that will stop the externalization of such a huge resource. We hear it's between $107 million to $140 million that ZESCO wishes to give, to send to Zimbabwe and South Africa. So it was fruitful for us. We made our case, and we hope that there will be a proper outcome to the case of ZESCO, importing these wooden poles outside the law, refusing to follow the regulations, and breaching the ZPPA Act of 2020. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
Science and Technology Minister Felix Mutati had last month, April 2022, visited Evelyn Horne College in Lusaka to appreciate the successes and challenges that the institution is faced with. During his tour of duty, the successes and challenges were brought to his fore, critical among them being the critical infrastructure shortage, poor student hostel sanitation and services, high institution debt, poor lecturing facility and unmotivated staff. To address some of these challenges, the minister has given a sum of 10.5 million kwacha to the college meant to improve infrastructure and equipment in order to improve the student welfare.
So we are going to meet the full budget that has been delivered by the Project Implementation Committee to address the priorities that have been put in phase 1. And the amount that has been delivered to us by the Project Implementation Committee is 10.5 million kwacha. You have, before Friday, you are 10.5 million kwacha.
Mr. Mutati also says his ministry will ensure that all TVET institutions are given priority through a timely release of funding.
We shall come again now to deal with the longer term, which is the hostels, accommodation, because that requires us to go and think again, isn't it? To finish the blocks that have remained half unfinished. Our commitment is that let's make Evelyn Horne the superstar of training in Teveta.
And Evelyn Horne College Principal Kefas Chawo could not hide his joy and has pledged to ensure that all resources are put to good use.
Honorable Minister, let me take this opportunity to assure you that this resource envelope which you have given us will definitely be ring-fenced to make sure that it is used for the intended purpose. Remind our students that as we start this rehabilitation, please look after the property.
And Zambia National Student Union also thanked the government for the gesture, but also took time to highlight some of the challenges faced in TVET institutions.
Honorable Minister, that I want to bring to your attention on bursaries. These students, when they applied, some of them were told that they are on 100% bursary. But when they reported in various institutions, they were told that your bursary is 50, others were told that it's 25, which becomes a challenge because most of them, they planned for 100%.
Higher institutions of learning are very important to a country as they help shape the next leaders, hence the need to ensure that the learning environment is conducive. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
There you have it. We have been zooming in the stories that we are trending in our main news, and that was a story from the Evelyn Horne College who were graced with funding from the Ministry of Science and Technology.
Indeed, Patrick, this school has been crying for a long time with a lot of issues, starting from ablution blocks.
Yeah.
Messy ablution blocks. Looking at the science and technology aspect of the institution also has not been working according to expectations, and the ministry has also come on board looking at some of those issues, and resources are being funded, are being dispersed to them by the end of June, are meant to understand according to the minister, and we hope that the money will be put to good use with what they really need. Because you know, when you're making a budget for something, you look at priorities.
Yes, you do. You have
that school has a lot of issues, that institution, but kwa Alabama priorities, they shouldn't go and buy laboratories, or desks, or to go and buy things that they already have, which are just maybe in bad shape and can be fixed. You know, so it's important that they take stock of whatever they need and just set priorities. Because in Biasha government,
you are right,
Sharon.
You are right, Sharon. That's quite...
that is me now being serious.
Just
sending warning shots to Evelyn Horne.
And we have some people who have been commenting, Sharon. We've been asking the question, is the corruption fight targeted at the PF? Because you know, every time they are appearing before the courts, they feel they're being targeted. So
exactly.
So people have been actually commenting on our Facebook page regarding this same corruption fight, and they have been adding their perspective. We just hope that you too can add your voice, because we just want to get your perspectives. But at the end of the day, I remember us interacting with Brebna Changara Sharon. He said, for instance, if it was Sharon who stole, it is not necessary to follow Soko.
No.
Is it possible?
At Musangwabonse.
Is it possible? So they can only follow you.
You host the breakfast show together. So obviously, you have pocketed some of the funds. But anyways, Mr. Edwin Zulu on Facebook actually says the corruption fight needs to be followed by, it needs to be pursued on both those that have served in the previous administration and also these, because it doesn't really need to be sidelined to
the previous administration as well. That's a good point.
But then, you know, at the same time, it seems as though this administration is targeting the previous regime, which is the Patriotic Front. But you want people to be following Cornelius Mwito, who was in opposition.
And
or you want people to be following
and matter of fact, the 2022 national budget, for instance, just took off in January.
In January.
And you don't expect much of in terms of the European. I know there's that issue that people were advancing to say the fertilizer deal was what. But and others have also reported that matter, including some opposition political parties like EFF, is it EFF?
Yes.
Kasonde Mwenda has been on that case, and we just hope that they will be proactive in terms of pursuing the fight against corruption in the current and the previous administration. But we understand that the previous administration had about 10 years, over 10 years in office. And it's quite a long time. We are seeing the other ones not even being in office for 1 year. But we just hope that the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Drug Enforcement Commission, will be able to follow these cases on a proactive basis to ensure that the fight against corruption is not attended to as a backlog, but as something that can be addressed on a proactive aspect. They were also appearing before the Public Accounts Committee, should have been on a Monday, and the Anti-Corruption Commission was being asked to say, it's like you are focusing on a reactive side,
yes,
and we're not on a
when people step out or leave these public offices, that's when you start pursuing them. But then again, I think it also goes to show how much political will the leader of the country has. In this instance, I think previously people actually accused President Edgar Lungu to say he didn't have the political will to fight corruption, because at some point he mentioned to say, don't question my officers, don't question my people, you know, things like that. But then when such sentiments, such words are coming from the head of state, it becomes difficult for the law enforcement agencies to pursue these matters, even if they are reported. Because most of these cases that they're dealing with now, it's not that they were reported now.
Most of them were reported.
Most of them were reported even
like
before the general elections. Exactly, they were reported before the general elections.
Reported.
Also, people are being trying to be proactive. They were talking about Minister of Foreign Affairs Stanley Kaku when he visited is it Sinoma recently, you know, carrying a paper bag, and they were like, no, this is corruption, this is what. But then at the same time, we need to understand to what extent should we accuse somebody of corruption? What constitutes corruption? Because you cannot see me walking past someone simply because I'm a public officer. That means I'm doing dubious things, you know. So we need to also be sensible enough or human enough or understanding enough to say people have got private lives, unless otherwise they were using a government official vehicle, they were doing this, then yes, we can continue questioning. But the head of state was clear on it. He mentioned, and he was asked at a press briefing or press conference he had previously, and he responded to that. But these are things that people are talking about. They're being proactive.
And to help us actually interpret this issue further is Katombola constituency member of parliament, Mr. Clement Andeleki, whom we are going to zoom in just after this break.
He's a lawyer, by the way, right?
He is.
So he has vast knowledge on these issues, obviously.
Exactly.
Let's zoom in at this story. Then when we return, we'll be talking to Clement Andeleki on the seat.
Indiscriminate waste disposal has remained a problem in Zambia for a long time, as people have a habit of not paying for waste disposal but dumping waste illegally at certain places during night time. One such place with this problem is Mutendere B near Mahatma Gandhi School grounds in Lusaka, which has had an enormous heap of garbage for a long time. The Lusaka City Council, working with the Zambia National Service, however, recently moved in to clear the garbage heap, which has however begun filling up again. As a permanent solution to the problem, the Lusaka City Council has given out the land for the construction of shops whose construction has begun. This has elated residents of the said area.
Plastic bag, one plastic bag as about that fishada. So apa better take out my shops, cleaning guide. Development chinjeko. That's why about front in the ground and a tigre offense. We take them ground and Mataira Monum. One drug no Matana ground a benzel.
Kuno Kulivana. Vana wambili maningi. Wena ngwenda beya. Lena ngwashita bwanji mwaona so kuimbwa yelipaza. Mwana angasobeli abwera bujaka imbwa pa yashimatinda asisani yangena mwaona. Nishi kubevindo ndichi tichita so wakansera twatasha kuti ivinto nwachita pa kuti vantu balekera utako mabini
kazajeka mabonzo ya imbwa ero bonzo ya imbwa kakulasa umuntu it very effective ku health ya muntu. Wow. So we need to concentrate about this our young generation, the people who are coming as behind kufunga kwafaka konzero kwa chita care not kwarekerera vantu kamba cheve usakamba pasangala shemusho vakapitiza kumanga mashops kwanga develop na ground vachaemeni vaicha vai building mshemusho panga ma activities yambiri ma sports panga boxing panga basketball court vonse vipezeke pa ground ya.
Meanwhile, area councillor Mr. Boniface Chiweka says with the construction of shops, no one will be able to dispose of waste illegally at the said place.
So that once that area is developed, then people will stop dropping off garbage from there because we realize that it's like it's a bush. So now, those people applied through a normal channel, then that's how come there's those works which are going on there, and it's actually to cure the defect of the garbage. Otherwise, and most people have welcomed it. And apart from that, at night in the same area, there are some junkies who attack the residents there. So once that area is developed, we are surely going to have a clean environment, a very good road, and a safe environment there.
The residents say the move should be emulated in other places with similar problems. Indiscriminate waste disposal poses many dangers to residents near these places, among them diarrhea diseases. Mutendere compound also recently recorded the first case of cholera after a long time. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast and just now we are ready for our interview. And our guest in the studio is a Katombola constituency member of parliament, Clement Andeleki, who is going to help us discuss various issues pertaining to the fight against corruption as well as issues in his constituency. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, my brother. It's the first time I've come to Camnet.
Welcome.
I'm so delighted.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, ma'am. May I say good morning to all our viewers, wherever you're watching us from. We say welcome aboard. Thank you very much.
Just a brief professional background of Mr. Andeleki.
Clement Andeleki is a trained police officer, goes through the ranks, having worked with the civil service for quite a number of years, I think 24 years, and left to join politics. Academically, I'm a lawyer. I got my PhD. I got my master's degree from the University of Zambia, bachelor's degree from the University of Zambia. I have my license to practice law. So,
you are among the few people who passed the Ziari exams.
Yes, indeed. I passed my Ziare exam, and we wish to encourage people who are trying to be lawyers not be scared of Ziare. There's nothing there, just need to work hard and pass. There's nothing there. So I wish to encourage the young people to venture into lawyering. Lawyering is a life career. It's actually one of the best professions you can ever join. You may not need a job from anybody, because when you're a lawyer, you can employ yourself and go to court. and you have a job forever. As long as you live, there's no retirement age. You can be 1,000 years old and go to court. You can be blind and go to court. You can be disabled and go to court.
Oh my God.
Interesting marketing strategy.
That's an interesting marketing strategy. You can be 1,000 years.
Age, interesting. Thank you.
You can be
Mr.
1,000 years and still practice. You know, it's a profession that doesn't need capital.
Nothing.
Once you just go and study, you sit and you start working immediately.
You don't need capital from the government. The capital is in the head. Thank you very much.
Interesting. Now, Mr. Andeleki, we just want you to help us answer this question we're asking our viewers. Is the fight against corruption only targeted against the PF, based on your assessment as a parliamentarian as well as a legal practitioner?
No, I wouldn't say so. If you look at the works I did on corruption, you know, I produced a thesis at the University of Zambia entitled Corruption and National Plunder in Zambia. Is there adequate law? This document, you can find it at the University of Zambia. It was available at the university in 2004 when I was graduating from my first degree. So corruption has been a rampant problem in the Republic of Zambia. You remember in the MMD government, we had issues like Chiruba Matrix, or the Zamtrup, all those problems. You know, Stella Chibanda, you remember, you haven't forgotten, Austin Diato, those monies. I'm mentioning all these people because we have judgments. Like Austin Diato, the judgment is ready in the Supreme Court, convicting him, confirming his conviction on money laundering, corruption. You know, corruption and money laundering, these are predicate offenses. These offenses, they are twin offenses, so to say. So the problem of corruption has been very rampant in this country. Pilfering, stealing of public funds, stealing public property, you know, a lot of problems. So it's not targeted at everyone. In terms, it's not targeted at the Patriot Front. I think the fight against corruption so far hasn't reached the level where it should have reached. You know, the issue about corruption is a very problematic issue, not only in Zambia, but it's been a big problem in Africa. If you look at the research, even African leaders, the level of stealing, when you look at the money which was expropriated by President then Seseseko Mobutu, these presidents that have been in the region, the dictators, huge sums of money stolen from countries in form of corruption. So the fight against corruption needs to be invigorated. Actually, we need to redefine the fight against corruption. And one of the issues as chairperson for legal at the Zambian parliament, I'm the chairperson legal, human rights and governance, corruption must be fought in a manner that really attracts very serious punishment. I will tell you, for example, that corruption needs to be non-bearable. Corruption needs a very stiff punishment. Punishment even to the level of treason or death. Because when you steal public funds, you know what it does? It takes away, deprives the child of education, public service becomes hampered, governance becomes compromised, everything. So it's not targeted at the PF members. In any case, they lost the elections. There's no need to target them. We just want them to account. And this fight must be extended to everybody. And I think it is extended. I think that's why you heard the president talking of the rule of law when it was being sown, when he addressed Parliament the first time. He spoke the same message of the rule of law, having to rule according to the provisions of the law. So anyone who has information about corruption must report to the relevant authorities. The law, if you see that institutions are not effective, we have a law in Zambia where you can take the matter to court and issue criminal summons against anybody who has transgressed or committed atrocities or offenses related to corruption and the predicate offenses. There is no desire to target PF members. Why target PF members?
Yes.
They are defeated at the ballot, they are a weaker party, and they are not coming back anytime soon. It may take 100 years, 1,000 years for PF to come back into government. So the real point is that we must take corruption fight very seriously. Because look at the poverty levels in this country. It's very, very sad that 57 years after independence, we can't manufacture not even a toothpick, we can't do nothing in this country because monies have ended up in people's pockets. You know, helicopters. How can a minister get 3-4 helicopters parked at his yard? Look at the properties they have acquired. Look at the dollars in people's homes right now as we are speaking. This will never have happened. And we really require that there must be proper systems to investigate seriously the plunder of national resources, and not only the Patriotic Front government. It must go back and even encompass us, the people who are now in government. We must declare our assets and abilities, and all these ministers today must also be held accountable. They must be checked. What do they have? What don't they have? So that this fight really is extended, and it must be taken very, very seriously. I'll tell you, I take corruption very, very seriously. Because I grew up from a poor family, deprived family, where you can only have 1 meal per day. So it's quite sad, really, when money, public resources end up in people's pockets. Quite.
All right, we are in conversation with Katombora Member of Parliament, Mr. Clement Andeleki. Just now, we take a short break and we return and continue the conversation.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Are you a married man or woman? Are you encountering challenges in your marriage? Are you planning to take your marriage and love relationship to higher levels? Your business platform is all set for you as a couple. You are invited to attend Zambia's first love, business and marriage conference. Amid its uncertainties in the economy, higher divorce rate in the world, plan to be one of the most successful couple in Zambia. Date 28th May 2022. Time from 9 hours to 16 hours. Participation fee 1,200 kwacha per couple. Lunch inclusive. For registration, payment can be done through MTN mobile money on 0962 965 883 or 0979 753 010 for Airtel Money. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International. Speakers, Professor and Mrs. Catherine Munkumba. And your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chilwa. This is a must-attend conference. Plan and make a date with us. Your lives, marriage and future will never be the same. Remember, we are born for greatness. Book for your seats by calling 0962 965 883. See you on the 28th May 2022.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast, and in conversation I have in the studio Katombola Constituency Member of Parliament Clement Andeleki, and together we are discussing various issues prominent the issue again in terms of the fight against corruption. Now, before we went on a break, Mr. Andeleki did respond to the question, is the corruption fight targeted at the PF, and he gave us a perspective. You too, you can do so on our Facebook page by adding your views on the conversation we are having. You can equally call the studio to join the conversation we are having. Now, Mr. Andeleki, now coming back to, based on your response, you also mentioned the aspect of making sure that corruption becomes a non-bearable offense, and with stiffen punishment on corruption. The president did also hint during his press briefing that what are some of the measures can we undertake in terms of strengthening laws that govern corruption? What perspective do you have in terms of laws and how we can change some of the laws to ensure that the fight against corruption is more aggressive and is more punitive?
Yeah, there are two important factors to take into consideration. First and foremost, we require a holistic law reform. You know, the law, the way it is currently, the fight against corruption is not in a good state. I can tell you, the systems that are in place are not good. For example, the procedures that are there currently under the Act, the Anti-Corruption Commission Act, Act number 2, 2012, is not good enough because it places a number of procedures that are bureaucratic. And in corruption fight, you really need very straightforward laws. I'll tell you, for example, that if you want to investigate a particular person, you need the authority of the Director General. Now, if the Director General is interested in that person you want to investigate, it becomes a fraud. That's point number one. Point number two, which is problematic, if we want to prosecute somebody for corruption, we require authority of the Director of Public Prosecution. If the Director of Public Prosecution says, no, I don't want you to prosecute this person, again, you'll be stuck. So there are a lot of problems, there are a lot of roadblocks which we feel. What if the Director of Public Prosecution herself is the subject of corruption? How are you going to investigate? Because she will not allow you to investigate. What if the Director General of the Anti-Corruption is the subject, or a relative of the Director General is the subject of an investigation on corruption? She definitely will not allow an investigation against that person. So it makes the institution moribund. It presses a lot of challenges in the fight against corruption. So really, we require law reform on the registration, we require law reform on the institution called the Anti-Corruption Commission. Because as you are aware, it's a centralized body. If I commit corruption in certain towns, there is no Anti-Corruption Commission there, so which means you only in Lusaka and maybe a few headquarters, provincial headquarters. So if I commit a crime in a town called Kapiri, for the report to be made, and corruption is very fast. It happens in a very short period of time, and it's an organized crime. So it's very difficult to combat corruption in that style. So we really need very serious, robust law reforms and institutional reforms to make sure that this fight becomes a reality under the law, under the laws of Zambia.
So far, how would you rate the corruption fight?
Of course, the government has pronounced itself. His Excellency the President, the Cabinet, the Vice President has made very serious statements on corruption. So far, we are on a good trajectory. But we really need to do more. And I say so in terms of doing more to make sure that people who steal are held accountable. This has not been the case. I still feel that there are a lot of people that are roaming the streets that have been engaged in corrupt activities. And I usually mention names, and somebody will say, why do you mention names? I'm a lawyer. I look at the judgments that are available so far. You know, the number of people that have been convicted on these corrupt practices. You know, we recall very well what happened starting from the MMD time, going down into this particular government, and going forward. You see, we have a judgment. Katere Karumba and others, I've mentioned the people, Austin Chisangu Liato, a number of judgments that have come on board pertaining. So rating the fight against corruption. Yes, the government has pronounced itself, but as a chairperson, legal, human rights and governance of the Zambian Parliament, I want to encourage NGOs, I want to encourage persons who share the same vision as mine to ensure that we move the House, we petition the House to reform in a robust manner the legislative framework in the fight against corruption so that we can ensure that stealing public funds, pilfering drugs or any money belonging to the government must be treated as treason. It must be seriously sanctioned. Because if we don't do so, there will be no way you would deter would-be offenders. And this has been going on for a very long time. If you look at the Auditor General's report, year in, year out, look at how they were using the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU. Look at people having projected that they supplied goods to DMMU under the previous government. Look at the billions of dollars owed by DMMU today. Goods that were not, most of the goods were not delivered. But these people are draining these funds from the government. This is corruption. They are working together with officers inside the government. And this has continued. And even under this new Dawn government, the president has previously made a statement to say, even my ministers are being taught those skills. I wouldn't really go to that extent, but that was one of the statements His Excellency the President did make to show you the nature or the level of animal in man. Corruption must be detested by every Zambian in whichever form. Whoever is involved in corruption must be sanctioned, must be severely punished. We should not wait for people to leave government, because this is another problem we've seen. We've had to wait until somebody has left government, we've had to wait until this has happened. Then people perceive that kind of fight to mean that you are targeting PF, or you are targeting MMD, or you are targeting UPND. If I'm UPND, I'm targeted, I will know the president doesn't like me because of this, because of that, because of that. But corruption, whichever way it manifests itself, must be seriously sanctioned. And I encourage the organizations that are in the fight against corruption to ensure we have proper law reforms, to ensure that we move in the direction of institutional reforms so that we can institutionalize the fight against corruption. Because in most towns, there's no Department of Anti-Corruption Commission. And if it's a police officer involved, what am I going to do if I am an ordinary person? This person has a gun and is involved in corruption. What am I going to do? So we need to bring fight against corruption into the curriculum of the education, to just teach people, Zambian people, about morals. Look at South Africa. I'm trained from South Africa. I went to pursue my doctorate degree at the University of Pretoria. I'll tell you that in that country, systems are properly working. I'm not saying systems in Zambia are not working, but what I'm saying is in terms of the fight against corruption. People pay tax. We have tax evasion in this country, a lot of tax evasion. People don't want to pay tax. People, you know, I was chief registrar. I was able to say I'm targeting churches, I'm targeting, because people don't want to pay. They want to pay a bribe, but don't want to pay the fees to the government. This has been a very big problem, and I don't know whether we need to take it into the education curriculum to say, look, you people, let us not steal from our own government. Let's not steal the drugs. They are meant for you. They are meant for your people. People think the drugs are for the president. They think stealing those drugs in the facilities means that they're engaged in corruption. They're stealing government funds. Those are funds. Look at what has been happening in the Ministry of Health previously. You know, expired drugs being brought to Zambia through this honeybee and all these funny things that we are going on. You know, by procurement at very high prices of the ambulances. Stealing in such a form. So whichever manner in which corruption manifests itself must be condemned and require very serious punitive measures in the fight against corruption and its predicate offenses. Remember, corruption comes in many forms. There's corruption, there's fraud, there's money laundering. All these are predicate offenses or twin offenses that manifest themselves in a form of corruption. Thank you.
I also want to pick your perspective on the issue of access to justice. It is usually perceived to be a preserve of the rich because the poor can't afford legal fees. And you spoke passionately about issues of pertaining to justice, especially in Parliament. How can we ensure that justice is more inclusive? Because even if the President did mention that, for example, people now able to have a police bond easily or access to bail, but for underprivileged citizens, this still remains a challenge because others still think they need to pay police officers for them to get a police bond.
You know, I come from the police myself, trained by the police. My first degree masters were trained by the Zambia police, for which I'm indebted to the Zambia police. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am today. The real point at the police, Zambia police, a lot of disgruntled police officers there. And management of the police is different from the Zambia Army. I think the police will do well to take a leaf from Zambia Army, ZNS, the defense forces. They'll do well because the levels of discipline and indiscipline by the Zambia police is unimaginable. Police officers, not all police officers, some police officers are using the police as a vehicle just to go there and commit crime of stealing in uniform and in daylight. You know, when someone wants to get, for example, police bond, they would make it very, very difficult. Currently, government is paying huge sums of money. You know, I have been a lawyer, I'm still a lawyer on these matters, where government have over-detained somebody. They know very well that the provision of the law is very clear. A person cannot be kept in detention if it's a weekend more than 48 hours. They have to appear in court, but they would keep this person 1 week in cells. The government is losing colossal sums of money, which money should have been channeled to help this economy. And we are advocating that if a police officer misuses his power, that bill that occasions the government must be posted against his benefits. That way you will deter police officers from just quite indisciplined a number of police officers. I don't know whether I need to train, retraining or whatever. The police I worked under and the police of today, you get to wonder. You know, see a police officer, the levels of discipline is very compromised. And this has occasioned the levels of corruption that you see today. A lot of corruption on the roadblocks, where a lot of corruption. You know me, I'm a person that is not really known. When I move sometime, people don't recognize me because I use very different vehicles. But you see, you are stopped, you've been asked for this, asked for that. I think the police can do better. In terms of access to justice, as you are saying, this is a very big issue. Access to justice does not just look at a lawyer. Access to justice means the court, it means the police, the prosecution department, everybody, all the stakeholders. This really has also been quite problematic because people are over-detained. Okay? The courts sometimes have no capacity to go to the cells and check who is in cells 4 days, 10 days. They don't have the capacity. Because, you know, court system, in most of the districts, we still don't have the subordinate courts. Like Kazungura is a district where there's no subordinate court. So if a person is kept in Kazungura, the courts wouldn't know, for example, that there's a person who's been detained for 6 months or 7 months. And this has been quite a problem, and we demand that this government must move in the direction of decentralizing the judicial system for purposes of enhancing access to justice. At least at district level, we should have a subordinate court to prevent the movement of our people. They have to be shipped from Kazungula to to Livingstone, and this endangers the officers also, because these are, some of them are serious criminals, and even attack officers. And access to justice, I think we really need to do a very good job, and the Zambian government would do well if we could prioritize that one, because it's part of good governance when access to justice is promoted. So that's what I can say.
Interesting. Now, I would want to also now shift our conversation. We cannot keep you here without talking about your constituency, because we understand there are various issues based on the research that we have undertaken. Being a rural community, Katombola constituency, we want to understand how is the issue of access to facilities, the radius in terms of how far or near can people access these facilities?
Yeah, Katombola constituency in Kazungula district really has very serious challenges. I've mentioned these challenges in Mandova, but I wish to state that the biggest problem we have there is that that place was highly neglected for a number of years. Since 1964, we only have one district hospital, Kazungula, in Kazungula. Now, we're talking 5 chiefs. We share boundaries. Kazungula Katombola constituency is the second biggest or largest in terms of radius in Zambia, second largest in Zambia. So what we talk about is that there's no telephone communication, no proper road network, no road network. They're just, you can't call it a path. When it rains, the people are cut off. You talk of a lot of challenges.
But the previous government has been talking about having elected quite a number of towers under that project with that was being inspired. It should be Huawei, and with the help of the Chinese government. You mean you were sidelined?
Very much sidelined. In Kazungula, it's not telephone network. So it becomes very difficult even to implement projects like the projects that the European government has introduced on CDF to ensure that people can access. When you run an advert or to tell people to say, can you fill in this form? They don't even know. They don't even get the message on time. I will tell you, because there's no telephone network, there's no television signal, there's nothing, there's no road. People live in the past. They don't know what is happening in the present. So it's quite a very sad state of affair. The PF government really projected themselves as having been doing something, but I think what they have just been doing is to steal public resources, which they are known for. They did nothing in Kazungula. If you ever go to Kazungula, you understand that there is nothing. Got 5 chiefs. Chief Nyao, Chief Musokotwani. When you go there, just at Musokotwani, the palace itself, even when you look at the palace, it's a big shell. No telephone network, no nothing. In Nyao, very Momba, very sad. Mukuni, because it's near Livingstone, it's just there where the palace is. But when you go beyond, you go to Machenje, you go to Muchinga, places outside, no telephone network, no road. If you get sick there, you die. They are not accessible. No vehicle can want to get there because there is no road. It will be damaged. So that's the situation.
But what are the remedies in terms of the health sector, like that you have suggested as a member of parliament?
As member of parliament, I have been lobbying through the House, I've been lobbying through this government that we really need to put infrastructure in terms of facilities, which are medical facilities, and we need to connect electricity. I will tell you, for example, in Mwezi, one of the sad state of affairs, that my mothers are still delivering on the floor. It's the same as in Momba. A very ramshackle building, grass thatched. In Momba, women are still delivering on the floor, being helped by traditional attendants. My advocacy really, we've heard that as member of parliament, I've gone to an extent of saying my salary should belong to the poor, and the salary must belong to the constituency. The reason is to try and show leadership, to say, let's put up a clinic here so that when the government comes tomorrow, they should be able to give us a nurse, they should be able to give us a medical practitioner to assist us. There is no electricity, so there is no issue when you are giving birth, if it's at night, of you having electricity or solar or whatever. There's nothing. And the clinic officer there was telling me that he uses a very small phone. He has to put it on his mouth and help the mother deliver. It's so sad, 57 years after independence. And as member of parliament, I'm one of the saddest members of parliament today to preside over a constituency that is so underdeveloped. It's so sad. I really feel heartbreaking. And that's what really encouraged me to be member of parliament, because ultimately I wouldn't have wanted to be a civil servant. I had to resign from the civil service in 2019 to pursue my political career. You are here where I was I was administrator for Lusaka in the office of the president until 2019 when I resigned. I have worked nearly everywhere, but I have always thought about the place where I grew up, which is Katombola. Very poor, lack of leadership by the government then made it so hard for our people. Our only mind there is agriculture. We produce maize, but where do you sell the maize? There are not vehicles that can access those rural areas. You have to sell to briefcase buyers at a very low price. And my people's poverty levels have accelerated. And this is what encouraged me to be member of parliament for these people to try and project. And currently I'm happy to announce that 2 roads will be opened. The Zimba-Nyawa road, which is going to go around to Kauwe and Kalomo, is going to be open this year under the auspices of the World Bank, and Senkobo, Sokotwani, Wezi, Wombwe Road is also going to be rolled out this year under the auspices of the government of the Republic of Zambia. I'm indebted to His Excellency, the Vice President of the Cabinet, for thinking about us, and for the World Bank for cooperating with rural areas. In rural areas, there's serious poverty, I'll tell you. Serious poverty. When you talk of poverty, if you want to test it, go to a rural area. There's no electricity, no network, no nothing. Poverty is the order of the day. Children don't go to school, they drop out. Early marriages because of poverty.
And I was actually going to come to the issue of education, Mr. Ndeleki. Yeah, so you gave me an aspect of health. Now, what about the education sector? What are the teething issues there?
Very serious problems there. Until now, that we thank the free education policy. We are out there to encourage the young people to go back to school. Fine, 12 years, a girl is married. A boy is 16 years, 15 years. They think that is life. They think that is life because there's nothing to do. They can't go to school. The schools are very distant places. They are expensive. Schools were only for the rich. Until the new Dawn government came in to say, no, we need to make education free. Currently, this is the issue we have of encouraging those who are married to go back to school because these are young people. This government is not desirous to break any marriage, but to allow these young people to get back to school and continue. Our biggest challenge now is the issue of infrastructure, because many children have gone back to school. Now the challenge in terms of infrastructure is that the classrooms are full. And we thank the CDF, the CDF, we are now busy buying desks and erecting new buildings for purpose of education, and we are thankful, His Excellency, for this vision on free education, because it couldn't have come at any better time than now.
The 25.7 million Kwacha Constituency Development Fund, the CDF, has been said to be the game changer. And you, as a parliamentarian who serves in a rural community, to what extent would that bring change? And what are some of the developmental projects you target to implement using this first bunch of CDF? Okay, we can narrow it to the first quarter resources.
Yeah, the first priority, like I was telling you, that the biggest problem in Katombola, Okazungula district, is poverty. And the only way we can eradicate or fight poverty is, one, education. When you bring education, it changes, it transforms a lot of things. So we are banking on the free education policy introduced by this government to ensure that children get back to school. We are supporting them through the CDF by buying desks and building more capacity. As Member of Parliament, I've even gone to say, in addition to what the government has given, also to show commitment, I am putting in my pay there so that we can buy cement, we can mold some bricks, and help reinforce the assistance we are getting from the government. So the major target now is education, opening up of the roads. I'm making a lot of noise to Zamtel, because I've been telling Zamtel has been fast asleep. You are sleeping as an institution of government. You should do more. Because this is a government institution. This is an agency of government. Take network. Telephone network is what brings civilization. Communication is very important. And I'm continuing to push Zamtel. There are towers already. Infratel has first I pushed Infratel. The towers are available. Now the issue is to connect. Once my people are connected, it means communication. Communication, so the issue of roads. Once people have roads and telephone network, and it means everything will be better. And this is what I'm pushing as the first agenda, together with my team, the UPND team that is on the ground in Katombola, has been working very, very hard. The council, I'm indebted to the local authority at Katombola, that these technocrats have been working very, very hard, working with their party in government to ensure that we make education, free access to education a reality. We open up the roads, give telephone network, put water. Water is another very huge challenge. Access to clean drinking water has not been.
I was coming to that.
People are still having to drink in shallow wells together with their animals. This is very, very unsatisfactory. The previous government never saw any need to connect the water from the Zambezi River, produce clean drinking water for our people. The previous government never saw a need to harvest water. Water resource is money if well harvested. You see a lot of water tables in Zambia, but previous governments, for whatever reasons, have never seen a benefit of that water. We feel that this new Dawn government will do more to try and increase the resource envelope in this country. And we are thankful His Excellency is running up and down to make sure that his children, his country is got resources in manufacturing industry. If we can't export, my brother, we remain poor. If we can't make even a blanket, a jacket, we can't even make a shirt, we can't make even a toothpick, we can't export nothing, we remain a poor country. Even in a home, if you don't trade, you wait for a salary, you never build a house. We need to engage in international trade as a country. We need to be a manufacturing country. Let's stop the movement of copper from Copper Belt or Wezi to other countries which are rich countries. Let's make the missiles here. Let us develop let's make our televisions here. Let us do a lot of wonders. What really has gone wrong to this country? For us to be even depending on smaller countries that just got independence yesterday, like South Africa, having to get beddings from South Africa, Botswana, to be able to manufacture a blanket, which we can't do here in this country. So my feeling really is that with the coming of the new Dawn government, a lot of things will change. Chinese having to do our roads. Where are our engineers? I'm very, very happy with the Ministry of Defense. I've never worked for the defense, but I think given the resources, the Zambia Army can do proper roads, what they can do. We don't have war at this moment. If they are given capacity, ZNS, to produce food, harvesting the water, having to connect, can make serious plantations. Giving them capacity, I do not doubt that we will not need to go to IMF or anybody to ask for money. After 10 years from today, we will have our own money to rent out to other countries in the region. Because we have everything here. We have land, we have water tables, we have good people, violent-free people in Zambia. Very good security, very good climate, very good weather. We don't have tsunamis here, we don't have nothing. This is an excellent country that God gave us. And with the vision of the new Dawn government, His Excellency President and his cabinet, I do not doubt that Zambia is headed to very best heights or good heights in terms of the developmental trajectory. Thank you.
Interesting. Your concluding remarks, Mr. Andereki.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to thank Camnet in conclusion, and I want to encourage you to grow biggest. This new Dawn government has created an environment for media houses to be free. No one is coming to close you down. You will never see what you saw under the PF to say you only need to sing a particular song that defeats the government. Grow. Be bigger. Even be bigger than Al Jazeera if you can. I like your innovation, this ingenuity with the Zambian people, our journalists, media personnel. I encourage you to go beyond what you are today. And to view you in Livingstone and to view you everywhere. You know, go on DSTV. Are you on DSTV?
Yes.
Yes, that's excellent then. We need to grow bigger and bigger, and the Zambian government will give you capital. We have CEEC. Apply, get the resource envelope, push up, you know, get virgin land, develop yourselves. And this is what we want to see, that business must be given to Zambians before we think of anybody else. Thank you very much for hosting me. Thank you for supporting the new Dawn government. I wish you well, and I wish the people of Zambia well. We are thankful as a new Dawn government for voting us into power. Thank you for what you did on 4th August, and will not let you down. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, that was Katombola constituency member of parliament, Camnet Andereki, who has been helping me discuss issues pertaining to the corruption fight, as well as issues in his constituency. Well, it was a conversation worth a while and an advice to Camnet to grow bigger, where we are headed for. We are the next big thing in Zambia and beyond. This has been Patrick Soko on The Breakfast Show. Until next time when we come with another episode next week on governance and policy. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel. Stay tuned.